Hey guys, my name is Seth. I'm the owner of AverageOtakuGames.com, or AO Games for short. Today, we got a hot topic for you. Big bad corporations are being big and bad, and not only that, but they're being greedy. And yes, today we're going to be talking about MJ Holding and their subsidiary JT Collectibles selling on Walmart.com for, market pricing. Now, I've seen a lot of takes, a lot of theories on this subject, and one that I've kind of believed more so than others, and from a business perspective, this makes a lot more sense to me. Is what I'm going to be talking about today. And no matter how you feel as a buyer, as a seller, et cetera, everyone has the reasons for doing certain things. And while it may seem like a crappy thing to do, and in the current market, it is kind of a crappy thing to do, I'm going to explain why I think they're doing what they're doing. Now, if you don't know, MJ Holdings is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, distributor for trading cards in the US. They stock Walmarts, and as we all know, there are tons of Walmarts in the United States. Recently, a lot of people have figured out, if you've been in the hobby, you've kind of already known about this, to be honest, but a lot of newer people, maybe even some older people that just didn't know, are figuring out that MJ Holding selling under a subsidiary named JT Collectibles on the Walmart website. They are selling prismatic ETBs for market/near market cost. And a lot of people are just pissed off, and rightfully so. I definitely don't blame them. But here's why I think they are doing it, and here's also why I don't think they're necessarily totally the bad guy in this scenario. The whole issue with the current Pokemon market, has a little bit to do with distributors and scalpers, but the main issue right now is just Pokemon is not printing enough. Whether that's intentional or, non-intentional, we don't really know at this moment, but they are the main reason why the market is where it's at. Now, again, MJ Holding being one of the largest distributors in the United States, they mainly work contractually with very large corporations such as Walmart. As far as my personal knowledge, I don't have their distribution. I don't know if they really stock smaller locations. They definitely don't stock online stores. But as far as for retail chains, I don't know, your local card store that might have 2 or 3 locations, I'm not 100% sure if they do even work with them. I have talked to them at some, conventions like Toy Fair in New York, where, they mainly talk to vendors or, people who want to sell their product to them to have it distributed. I have talked to them there. They've given me a little insight on what they do, and they've made what I've just said very, very clear. Now, speaking on how they do their business, it's very contractual. They are contracted to supply, for example, Walmart, a specific quantity of items, per release or whatever they have it, specified, in their contract. They are supposed to supply them with a certain amount or a certain quantity, and that is all they are really supposed to do. Now, what that means as far as for this situation, well, that means that they more than likely have leftover stock. Now, it is widely known that not only probably them, but other distributors have leftover stock, they hold intentionally. Now, it's not a ton of stock usually, but as far as I'm aware, distributors hold stock not only to list it a little bit higher later down the road, but some distributors will hold stock so they can pair it or bundle with other stock that doesn't move as quickly, so that they can move all of the product. If you run a business, that dead stock is not great. Not only does it take up space, but that is money invested into something that is not selling for you. That is a main reason why distributors will hold stock. So If they bundle it, that's one way to get rid of their dead stock. Or if they sell the hot in-demand items for a higher price, then they're able to, kind of counteract not selling the dead stock in a sense. Now, I think that's what's going on with MJ Holding. I think the extra stock that they have of the hot items, they are simply just, instead of selling it to retailers at a higher price, they are selling it themselves through their subsidiary to consumers at a higher price. Why do businesses do that? Well, businesses, I don't know if you know, want to expand. They want to grow. I don't want to work out of small office for my entire life. I would love to own multiple locations myself, and I think that's what they're doing now. A lot of people don't like that, especially consumers. They see the rich get richer, and I completely sympathize with that, and I understand that perspective and how it looks. It doesn't look good. Though, I think when you see it through this lens, you kind of understand it a bit more. Now, something that is a little bit harder to explain, but also kind of is explained with my theory or my interpretation of everything, is when someone has ordered something through Walmart. I have seen, a scenario where someone ordered something through Walmart. They did not get the items that, they wanted, or they didn't get the exact quantity that they had ordered. Instead of MJ Holding, supplying them with that extra stock that they have, Walmart is refunding the customer. Now, here's why this makes sense with everything that I have explained. It's because MJ Holding has already supplied Walmart with the quantity specified in their contract. So, in a sense, Walmart can't just say, hey, MJ Holding, this customer didn't get everything that they ordered from us. Can we just get a little bit from you? No, it doesn't work like that. Walmart's contract has already been fulfilled. If Walmart messes up, that's on Walmart. If they have no more items to, rectify that situation with the customer, then they will just provide a refund. Now, it looks weird because, MJ Holding, Walmart supplier, is selling on their website with obviously, stock, available. Now, it looks weird. Like I said, it looks bad, but please just kind of understand where, if a contract is fulfilled, you can't just, these are big corporations. It's not like I'm selling to my neighbor or I'm selling to you, or vice versa. These are big corporations that deal with large quantities. So, when you see it through that lens and you kind of think about it, it becomes a little bit more understanding. Now, I know the market's hot right now. Hysteria is at an all-time high. Everyone's out to get the consumer. And again, I sympathize with that. I understand. But I think when people slow down for a second and think logically about what's going on and how things operate, I think that they can really kind of further understand what's going on. Because this is not new. They didn't just open up this business just to sell prismatic evolutions, at market price on Walmart's website. This is not new. So while everyone is on, the witch hunt for someone to blame, I think we all need to just take a step back and really just, I don't want to say blame Pokemon, but blame Pokemon. This situation will get better. It will take some time. Pokemon must adjust, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen a lot of other people talk about. It takes time because sets are kind of planned way far in advance. Whether it's a year and a half, they're taking sales from that time period and printing to those numbers to how they think it will be. It takes a while for Pokemon to adjust in quick spikes in demand. And if you guys aren't aware, we've really only been in this type of market for about 4 or 5, maybe 6 months, 5 months, something around there, somewhere where, it's not been enough time for Pokemon to adjust. Sorry, I had to, I had to look at what month we were in. So please just take a step back and, take a second to think about it. Now, I know not everyone with business experience, if you're just the average everyday collector and you don't know about the business aspect of things, I can definitely understand why you wouldn't know about these things. But that's why I made this channel, because I want to give you guys those perspectives. And whether you listen to other people on YouTube or Twitter or whoever it may be, there are a lot of theories out there. And personally, I think this one makes the most sense. If you think my take was great, drop that like, comment down below, what you think, what is your take on everything? I would love to hear it. I love to hear, ideas from all walks. Again, I started this channel because I want to give perspectives for everyone, whether it's a business owner, a collector, a flipper, whatever. I want to hear everyone's take on all of these things that happen in the community. So yeah, please drop a like, drop a comment. Maybe just let me know what you want to hear my perspective on next. Let me know, and I will definitely do my best to explain things in a way that I can perceive them. So thanks for watching. Thanks for spending some time out of your day, and can't wait to see you guys in the next one.